The crystalline halls of the Galactic Naval Academy sparkled with an almost blinding brilliance as Commander Jack Morrison strode toward the presentation chamber. His polished combat boots, the only sound in the otherwise silent corridor, drew disapproving glances from the hovering Silurian delegates. Unlike their gravity-defying ceremonial robes, his traditional naval uniform seemed painfully primitive. Humans, one of them whispered in their musical language, not realizing Morrison's neural translator could pick it up, still clinging to their martial traditions like children to their security blankets. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Let them think what they wanted. The massive holoscreen behind the podium flickered to life as he took his position, displaying the image that had already caused so much controversy: the HSS Thunderchild. The assembled alien admirals, representing 17 of the most advanced civilizations in known space, broke into poorly concealed murmurs of derision. The human ship looked like a cross between a medieval castle and an industrial processing plant, all hard angles and brutal geometry. Its hull was a patchwork of thick hardened steel plates, seemingly riveted together like some ancient ocean vessel. Compared to the organic, flowing lines of Confederation vessels, it looked like something salvaged from a scrapyard. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Confederation, Morrison began, his voice steady and professional. I present humanity's latest contribution to the combined defense fleet, the heavy strike ship Thunderchild. A holographic display spun up, showing the ship from various angles. Each new view seemed to generate fresh waves of amusement among the audience. The Silurian admiral in the front row didn't even try to hide his smirk, his crystalline head crest glowing with mocking colors. As you can see, Morrison continued, highlighting various sections of the ship, the Thunderchild represents a different philosophy in ship design. While your vessels focus on energy deflection and dispersion, we've taken a more direct approach. Direct indeed, the Silurian admiral interrupted, his translator making no attempt to hide his condescension. Like using a stone wall to stop a plasma burst. Tell me, Commander, did your engineers perhaps mix up the blueprints with one of your ancient naval vessels? Polite laughter rippled through the chamber. Morrison noticed that only two groups weren't laughing: his small human staff along the back wall and the Orcsian delegation. The ancient insectoids sat silent, and still, their compound eyes fixed on the technical readouts with an intensity that made him slightly nervous. Admiral Zintel, Morrison acknowledged the Silurian with a respectful nod. While the design may seem unconventional, I assure you that every aspect serves a purpose. The Thunderchild's hull, for instance, is an embarrassment. Another voice cut in. A Meridian representative this time, their bioluminescent patterns flashing with disdain. The Confederation expected better from humanity. This cargo hauler with guns is hardly worth the resources used to build it. Morrison's small smile never wavered. If anything, it grew a fraction wider. The Thunderchild will begin active patrols next month. Perhaps time will prove a better judge of its worth than first impressions. The senior Orcsian representative shifted slightly, the first movement they'd made since the presentation began. Their antennae quivered in what Morrison recognized as their species' expression of intense interest. They knew something, or suspected it at least. As the presentation concluded and the chamber began to empty, Morrison caught fragments of conversations. Primitive design, waste of resources, typical human stubbornness. He gathered his materials unhurriedly, watching as the last of the delegates filed out. Only the Orcsian representative remained behind, their multifaceted eyes still studying the Thunderchild's schematics. Commander Morrison. Their translator rendered their complex harmonics into English. An interesting design. One might say deceptively simple. Morrison met their gaze steadily. The simplest solutions are often the best, Ambassador. The Orcsian's antennae twitched again. Indeed, and the most dangerous predators are often those that don't look like predators at all. With that cryptic statement, they too departed, leaving Morrison alone in the chamber. He looked up at the image of the Thunderchild one last time. "Just wait," he whispered to the empty room. "Just wait and see." MacArthur Station hung silent in Earth's L2 Lagrange point, its external lights dim to near invisibility against the star-studded backdrop of space. Commander Morrison stood before his assembled crew in the station's secure briefing chamber, the same holographic display of the Thunderchild floating behind him. But this time, the image was very different. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morrison's voice carried across the room as layer after layer of the ship's primitive hull peeled away in the display. "What you're about to see is classified level Ultra. As of this moment, you're the only crew in the fleet who knows the Thunderchild's true nature." The external armor plating dissolved in the hologram, revealing an intricate network of crystalline matrices and quantum waveguides that put the Confederation's best technology to shame. The crew leaned forward, their earlier skepticism transforming into expressions of wonder. "Those crude hull plates," Morrison highlighted a section, zooming in to show the molecular structure. "Quantum wave metamaterials disguised as simple carbon steel. Each plate is actually a self-contained energy absorption and storage system. The more power that hits us, the stronger we become." Lieutenant Sarah Hayes, his chief engineer, raised her hand. "Sir, the energy requirements for this kind of system, it should be impossible at this scale." Morrison's grin widened. "That's exactly what the Confederation's engineers said 5 years ago when we proposed it. They called it a waste of time. Said the physics didn't work." He tapped a control, and the hologram shifted to show energy flow simulations. They were wrong. The display showed a Confederation heavy cruiser's main gun firing at the Thunderchild. Instead of deflecting or being destroyed, the hull seemed to drink in the energy, channel it through the hidden network of quantum matrices, and store it for later use. Every joke about our primitive design, every sneer about human engineering, it's all working in our favor. Morrison walked through the hologram, his figure distorting the light patterns. The Confederation's biggest weakness is their certainty that they're the most advanced species in known space. Commander Rodriguez, the tactical officer, spoke up. "What about the Orcs, sir?" They seemed suspicious at the presentation. Morrison nodded grimly. "The Orcs are different. They've been around long enough to know that looking primitive doesn't mean being primitive. Their interest is concerning." He switched the display to show recent intelligence reports. "We're picking up unusual energy signatures from the outer colonies. Something big is coming, and High Command thinks the Orcs know what it is. They've been stockpiling resources, moving their civilian population centers deeper into their territory." "Sir," Hayes interjected, "the power storage capacity you're showing here, we could absorb and redirect energy from multiple capital ships. This isn't just a defensive system, is it?" "No, Lieutenant, it's not." Morrison's expression turned serious. "The Thunderchild isn't just a ship. It's humanity's insurance policy. Something's coming, something that has the Orcs scared. And when it arrives, everyone's going to learn why you should never judge a book by its cover." He looked around the room, meeting each crew member's eyes. "For the next month, we'll be running silent drills, learning every detail of the real systems hidden under that primitive hull. The Confederation thinks we're running basic space trials. Let them think that. Let them mock us." The hologram shifted one final time, showing the Thunderchild's true capabilities at full power. The numbers were staggering. Enough energy storage to power a small city, weapon systems that could redirect an enemy's own energy back at them with devastating precision. "Remember," Morrison concluded, "every great magic trick has 3 parts: the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. We've made the pledge with our primitive design. The turn is coming as we deploy for our first mission. And the prestige? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The prestige will come when our enemies learn just how wrong they were to underestimate human ingenuity. As the briefing ended and his crew filed out, Morrison remained behind, studying the hidden complexity of his ship. Somewhere out there, a storm was building. But this time, humanity would be ready. Let them mock the Thunderchild. Let them dismiss it as primitive. They'd learn soon enough. Red alert klaxons blared through the Thunderchild's command deck as Commander Morrison studied the tactical display. The luxury starliner, Morning Star, hung in space before them, its elegant hull scared by weapons fire. 3 sleek warships, stolen Confederation cruisers, surrounded it like wolves circling wounded prey. Red Talon pirates, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his tactical station. They're using Valari-class cruisers. Latest Confederation tech. Our primitive sensors are reading multiple heavy weapon arrays. Morrison nodded, hiding his satisfaction. Perfect. Send the standard hail. Let's play this by the book. Attention, hostile vessels. The communications officer broadcast. This is the Earth ship Thunderchild. Stand down and... Mocking laughter cut through the channel. Well, if it isn't the humans' latest garbage go. The pirate leader's voice dripped with contempt. We were just reading about your little ship in the Confederation reports. Tell you what, run away now, and we won't add your embarrassing vessel to our collection. Morrison keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands, battle stations. Engineer Hayes, begin power-up sequence for the primary systems. But keep them masked. Let's not spoil the surprise just yet. The pirates didn't wait for a response. 2 cruisers broke formation, their advanced energy weapons powering up with a distinctive purple glow that the Confederation considered the height of military technology. Incoming fire, Rodriguez called out. Multiple heavy energy lances, targeting our engine section. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Hold position. Let them hit us. The bridge crew, now fully briefed on their ship's true capabilities, remained steady as the enemy fire struck. To an outside observer, it would have looked like suicide. The purple energy beams slammed into the Thunderchild's hull and simply vanished. Energy absorption at 20% capacity and rising. Hayes reported from engineering, her voice tight with excitement. The metamaterial matrices are performing better than simulations predicted. The pirate leader's mocking tone faltered slightly. What the? Hit them again. Full power. All 3 cruisers opened fire, their advanced energy weapons pouring enough power into the Thunderchild to vaporize a small moon. The space around the ship lit up like a miniature sun. Absorption at 60%. Hayes called out. Sir, we could take down half the Confederation fleet with this much power. Morrison stood, straightening his uniform. Let's start smaller. Target the lead ship's propulsion systems. Used 5% of stored energy, shaped into a focused beam. Let's show them what primitive technology can do. The Thunderchild's response was beautiful in its precision. A pencil-thin beam of pure energy. The pirate's own power, transformed and focused. Lanced out, it struck the lead cruiser's engine housing with surgical accuracy. The entire section simply ceased to exist, vaporized so cleanly it looked like it had been removed by a scalpel. By the void, the pirate leader's voice shook. What are you? We're the ship you mocked, Morrison replied calmly. The one you called a garbage scow. Care to revise your opinion? The remaining pirates tried to flee, but the Thunderchild was already moving. 2 more precision strikes disabled their weapons and engines, leaving them helpless in space. Message from the Morning Star. Sir, communications reported. They're safe. Minimal damage. No casualties. Morrison nodded, then opened a channel to the Confederation Observatory Station, he knew was watching. Thunderchild to Observatory Station. Pirates neutralized. We'll stand by for your recovery teams. The response was long in coming. When it did, the Silurian observer's voice sounded like they were being strangled. Acknowledged. Thunderchild. The Confederation thanks you for your assistance. As recovery ships appeared on the long-range sensors, Morrison caught Hayes' eye and winked. Send a full report to command. I think it's time to let our friends in the Confederation know that their understanding of primitive technology might need some revision. The Arxian Observer Station, silent until now, sent a single text message. As expected, the game begins. The emergency session of the Confederation Council erupted into chaos as the recording of the Thunderchild's battle played on the central hologram. Morrison stood at attention before the assembled representatives, his expression neutral as accusations flew across the chamber. This technology violates every known law of energy physics. The Silurian chief scientist's crystal crest flashed angry patterns of red and gold. It should be impossible to absorb and redirect energy with such precision. The humans have been deceiving us. The Arxian elder raised all four arms for silence, their compound eyes reflecting the hologram's light. Those who fear new ideas often mistake innovation for deception. Perhaps the question we should ask is not how the humans achieved this, but why they felt the need to hide it. Morrison cleared his throat. If I may address the council. The chamber fell silent, hundreds of alien eyes fixed upon him. In the upper galleries, he noticed several representatives from the hegemony watching with unusual intensity. The Thunderchild's design was never meant to deceive, Morrison began, choosing his words carefully. We simply approached the problem of energy weapons from a different perspective. While the Confederation focused on deflection and shields, we asked ourselves, why waste all that energy? And created a weapon that could turn our own power against us. A Meridian representative cut in, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with agitation. Created a defense system, Morrison corrected firmly. One that just saved over 2,000 civilian lives on the Morning Star. The Arxian elder's antennae twitched. Indeed. Yet our long-range sensors detect similar energy signatures from deep within hegemony space. Signatures that have grown stronger over the past 6 months. The gallery erupted again, but Morrison's attention was fixed on the hegemony representatives. Their reaction, or rather, their careful lack of reaction, confirmed his worst suspicions. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled through his neural link. Sir, you need to see this. Our intelligence team just decrypted communications between the protest groups demanding our decommissioning. They're being funded through shell companies leading back to the hegemony. Morrison kept his face impassive, but his mind raced. The pieces were falling into place. The hegemony's recent silence, the Arxians' cryptic warnings, the desperate attempts to have the Thunderchild removed from service. Honored Council, he spoke up, his voice cutting through the chaos. I request permission to show you data from our long-range surveillance network. A hologram shifted, displaying a map of hegemony space. Red dots marked energy signatures that matched the Thunderchild's power absorption technology, but at a scale that made his blood run cold. As you can see, he continued, someone has been very busy. These signatures suggest energy manipulation technology similar to ours, but weaponized, scaled up to levels that could threaten entire worlds. The Arxian elder's next words sent chills through the chamber. We have seen this before. In the time of the Great Collapse, when entire solar systems vanished in waves of uncontrolled energy, we thought the knowledge lost, or contained. Morrison met the elder's compound eyes. Not lost. Stolen. The pirates who attacked the Morning Star were using latest generation Confederation ships. Ships that, according to records, were destroyed 3 months ago in hegemony space. Understanding rippled through the chamber. The hegemony representatives started edging toward the exits. The Thunderchild was never just a warship, Morrison declared. It's a prototype, a test bed for the only defense we could think of against what we knew was coming. The hegemony didn't just steal ships. They stole technology. And now they're building something that could threaten every world in Confederation space. The Arxian Elder's voice carried an ancient weight. Then the time of testing is over. The real war is about to begin. As if to punctuate the Elder's words, emergency alerts began flashing across the chamber's screens. Multiple Confederation border stations had gone silent. The storm was breaking. The Confederation Command Center's holographic display showed a nightmare unfolding in real time. Morrison watched in horror as the first planet cracker weapon activated over the colony world of New Eden. The massive energy signature dwarfed anything they'd seen before, a twisted, scaled-up version of their own technology. By all that's sacred, Lieutenant Hayes whispered, her face pale in the red emergency lighting. They didn't just copy our design. They removed all the safety limiters. The beam that struck New Eden's surface was unlike anything in known space. It didn't just destroy, it consumed. The planet's defense shields, the pride of Confederation technology, might as well have been paper before a plasma torch. Cities vanished in microseconds, their energy added to the weapon's growing power. Multiple hegemony fleets emerging from jump points, Rodriguez reported, his voice tight. They're hitting everything at once. New Eden, Starbridge Colony, the Meridian homeworld. Morrison's neural link crackled with incoming emergency broadcasts. The Confederation fleet, the most powerful military force in known space, was being systematically torn apart. Their energy weapons were worse than useless. Each shot only made the planet crackers stronger. The Arxian Elder materialized on the command center screen, their usually steady voice carrying an edge of ancient fear. We should have seen it sooner. The signs were there. The energy signatures. The stolen technology. They weren't just building weapons. They were building harvesters. Harvesters? Morrison asked, though part of him already knew the answer. In the Great Collapse, worlds didn't just die. They were consumed. Their energy stolen, added to the weapons that destroy them. A cascade effect that nearly ended all life in this arm of the galaxy. The Elder's antennae drooped. We thought we had destroyed all knowledge of that technology. We were wrong. Another alert flashed across the screens. The Silurian home fleet, pride of the Confederation, had just engaged a hegemony battle group. Their advanced energy weapons, the same technology they'd mocked the Thunderchild for ignoring, were being turned against them with devastating effect. Commander Morrison, the Confederation High Admiral's voice cut through the chaos. Your ship's technology, could it counter these weapons? Morrison studied the data streaming in from the battles. The principle was the same as the Thunderchild's systems, but the scale, theoretically, yes, but they're operating on a power level that would overwhelm our absorption capacity in seconds. Unless, Hayes started, her eyes wide with sudden understanding. Sir, the Thunderchild's hull isn't just absorption plates. It's a complete energy manipulation system. If we reconfigured the quantum matrices, removed some of our own safety limitations, we could match their power level. Morrison finished. But the strain on the ship's systems would tear us apart, Hayes nodded. But not before we could stop at least one of those planet crackers. The Arxian Elder's compound eyes seemed to look through the screen and into Morrison's soul. Now you understand why we watched your ship so carefully. We saw the echo of the old technology in your design, but tempered with something new, something the hegemony lacks. Restraint. Wisdom. Another world went dark on the strategic display. The hegemony's message was clear. Surrender or be consumed. One planet at a time. Morrison straightened his uniform. Lieutenant Hayes, begin reconfiguring our systems. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Plot an intercept course with the nearest planet cracker. If we're going to die, let's make it count. Commander, the High Admiral's voice was heavy with the weight of command. You realize this is probably a one-way mission. Morrison watched as his crew, the same people who had endured the mockery and disbelief of the Confederation, moved with quiet determination to their stations. Admiral, the Thunderchild was built for this moment. They laughed at our ship, called it primitive. Let's show them just how wrong they were. The hegemony's laughter would soon turn to screams. The Thunderchild dropped out of hyperspace like a ghost ship from ancient legends, its hull glowing with the stored energy of a dozen battles. Behind them, 3 Confederation worlds burned. Ahead, the massive form of the hegemony flagship Worldender dominated the starfield, its planet cracker weapon casting an ominous purple glow across the void. All systems at critical, Hayes reported from engineering, her voice strained. The hull matrix is already holding more energy than it was ever designed for. One direct hit from that thing. Morrison nodded grimly. Will either destroy us or give us exactly what we need. He keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands, this is the commander. You've all seen what these monsters can do. 3 worlds gone, billions dead, because they thought they could steal our technology and use it without understanding its true purpose. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each understanding the weight of this moment. Rodriguez's tactical display showed the approaching hegemony support ships, their weapons already charging. Sir, communications cut in. We're being hailed. It's High Admiral Zextal himself. The hegemony commander's face filled the main screen, his expression a mix of amusement and contempt. The famous Thunderchild. How noble of you to offer yourself as our next test subject. Tell me, Commander Morrison, do you really think your primitive vessel can stand against the perfect weapon? Morrison's reply was ice-cold. Perfect. You took our design and stripped away everything that made it work. The safeguards, the control systems, the energy distribution networks. You built a hammer when you needed a scalpel. A hammer is all we need to crush the Confederation. Zextal laughed. Your ship's party trick of absorbing energy. We've scaled it up beyond your wildest dreams. Watch as we demonstrate on your vessel, broadcasting across all frequencies so everyone can see the famous Thunderchild die. Hayes' voice came through Morrison's private channel. Sir, I've finished the recalibrations. The whole ship is now one giant energy matrix, but the stress on the systems will have minutes at best before critical failure. Minutes is all we need. Morrison's eyes never left Zextal's smirking face. Lieutenant Rodriguez, status of the quantum focusing arrays. Ready, sir. Though if this works like we think it will, the kickback might tear us apart. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Better use than another planet. He opened a channel to all ships in range. To any Confederation vessels monitoring this frequency, clear the area. What happens next isn't something you want to be close to. Zextal's smirk wavered slightly. Brave words from a dead man. Gunners, full power to the planet cracker. Let's show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the hegemony. The space between the ships lit up as the planet cracker fired, its beam carrying enough raw energy to shatter a world. The Thunderchild made no attempt to dodge. All power to the hull matrix. Morrison ordered. Divert everything we've got to the absorption systems. And Rodriguez, target their main reactor with everything we catch, every last jewel. The beam struck the Thunderchild dead center. For a moment, the ship seemed to glow from within, its hull becoming transparent as pure energy coursed through the quantum matrices. Sir, Hayes' voice was nearly lost in the strain of overtaxed systems. The hull is at 200% capacity. The matrices are starting to break down. On the main screen, Zextal's expression changed from triumph to confusion as his weapon's energy reading started to drop. "What? What are you doing?" Morrison's reply was almost gentle, "Showing you the difference between stealing technology and understanding it." He turned to Rodriguez. "Fire." The Thunderchild's response was building, and the galaxy would never be the same. Time seemed to slow as the Thunderchild's hull blazed with contained power. The energy from the planet Cracker, combined with what they'd absorbed from previous battles, created an aura of pure light around the ship. Warning sirens screamed through every deck as the quantum matrices strained to channel more power than they were ever meant to hold. Hull integrity at 30%. Hayes shouted over the groaning of stressed metal. "The absorption matrix is way beyond redline. We need to release now, or we'll break apart." Morrison's hands gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered. "Rodriguez, status of the focusing arrays." "Aligned and ready, sir. But we got so much power, I don't know if we can control the discharge." On the main screen, Zextal's face had lost all trace of mockery. The Hegemony Admiral watched in growing horror as his planet Cracker's energy reading continued to drop, its world-ending power being consumed by the ship he dismissed as primitive. "Impossible," Zextal whispered. "Our sensors show you're holding enough energy to shatter a star system. Your ship should have disintegrated by now." Morrison allowed himself a grim smile. "The difference, Admiral, is that we built the Thunderchild from the ground up to channel this kind of power. Every plate, every circuit, every quantum matrix is part of a single unified system. You just bolted our technology onto your ships and called it superior. Engineering to bridge." Hayes' voice was desperate now. "The containment fields are failing. Whatever we're going to do, it has to be now." Morrison nodded to Rodriguez. "Target their main reactor. Everything we've got, shaped into a single beam. Show them what real energy control looks like." The tactical officer's hands flew over his controls, programming the most precise shot of his career. "Ready, sir. But the kickback. At this power level, it might tear us in half. Better use than another planet." Morrison opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, brace for impact. And whatever happens next, it's been an honor." The Thunderchild's response started as a pulse of light at its bow. The energy they'd absorbed, from the planet Cracker, from previous battles, from every shot the Hegemony had fired, began to flow through the ship's quantum matrices. But unlike the crude, brute force approach of the Hegemony's weapons, this was energy shaped by human ingenuity and precision. Energy flow stabilizing. Hayes called out in amazement. "The secondary matrices are actually holding. The power. It's like the ship knows what to do with it." The beam that erupted from the Thunderchild was unlike anything either side had seen before. It was pure white, focused to a point so precise it could have thread a needle, yet carrying more power than a dozen planet Crackers. It struck the World-Ender's reactor housing with surgical precision. For a brief moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to hiccup. The Hegemony flagship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, along with everything within 1,000 kilometers of its reactor core. The planet Cracker weapon, the pride of their stolen technology, vanished in an instance of perfect energy transfer. "Direct hit," Rodriguez reported, his voice filled with wonder. "Their entire command section, it's just gone. The energy reading. Sir, we didn't just destroy their weapon. We rewrote the laws of physics in that space." Through the quantum static on the few remaining communication channels, they could hear the panic in the Hegemony fleet. Their invincible weapon had been turned against them by the very ship they'd mocked as obsolete. Hayes' voice was barely a whisper, power levels dropping. "The hull matrix is regenerating. Sir, we're actually going to survive this." Morrison looked out at the space where the world ender had been, then at the retreating shapes of the hegemony support ships. Send a message to all frequencies. Tell them the Thunderchild stands ready to defend any world they threaten. And next time, we won't hold back. The message was clear. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The crystalline halls of the Galactic Naval Academy sparkled just as they had months ago, but this time the atmosphere was entirely different. Commander Morrison stood before the assembled representatives of the Confederation, the scared hull of the Thunderchild visible through the grand windows behind him, its battle-worn surface a testament to the wars it had survived. Distinguished representatives, Morrison began, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. 3 months ago, I stood in this very spot and endured your mockery. Today, I stand before you not to gloat, but to share understanding. The holographic display activated, showing the Thunderchild's true schematics in their full glory. The same design that had once drew sneers now drew gasps of appreciation as layer after layer of sophisticated technology was revealed. The difference between the hegemony's stolen technology and ours wasn't just in the engineering, Morrison continued. It was in the philosophy behind it. They saw our energy absorption system and thought only of weapons. We saw it as part of a greater whole. The Silurian admiral, who had once mocked the ship's design, rose from his seat, his crystal crest glowing with respectful colors. We owe humanity more than just an apology. We owe you our lives. The hegemony would have consumed every world in the Confederation if not for the Thunderchild. Lieutenant Hayes, standing at Morrison's side, activated the next set of displays. We've prepared detailed documentation on the quantum matrix technology, not just the technical specifications, but the underlying principles, the safety systems, the control mechanisms, the energy distribution networks, everything. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. Sharing such advanced technology was unprecedented in Confederation history. The Arxian elders stepped forward, their ancient eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom. In the time of the Great Collapse, knowledge was hoarded. Secrets were kept until they were stolen, and the results were catastrophic. Today, humanity shows us a better path. Morrison nodded. The Thunderchild was never meant to be unique. Its true purpose wasn't just to defend, but to demonstrate, to show that real advancement comes not from stealing technology, but from understanding it, from building upon it, from sharing it. The holographic display shifted again, showing plans for a new class of ships, vessels that combined the best of human innovation with Confederation technology, ships that could protect worlds without threatening them. The hegemony failed because they thought power alone was enough, Morrison continued. They never understood that the Thunderchild's true strength wasn't in its ability to absorb energy, but in how it used that energy. Precision over power, protection over destruction. Hayes stepped forward. We're proposing a joint development program. Human engineers working alongside Confederation scientists. Together, we can build defenses that make planet crackers obsolete. Technology that protects rather than destroys. The chamber erupted in applause. Representatives from a dozen worlds rose to pledge their support. Even the Silurians, once the most dismissive of human technology, were among the first to volunteer their best scientists. The Arxian elders' final words brought the chamber to a hushed silence. We have watched and waited for countless centuries, fearing the return of the Great Collapse. Now we see that sometimes the best guardian of knowledge is not the one who keeps it secret, but the one who shares it wisely. Humanity has proven not just their technical prowess, but their wisdom. As the session concluded, Morrison stood at the observation window, looking at his ship. The Thunderchild's hull still bore the scars of battle, but they were marks of pride now, proof that sometimes the most sophisticated solution could look deceptively simple. Ready to start teaching the galaxy our tricks? Hayes asked, joining him at the window. Morrison smiled. Teaching, learning, growing together. That's what we do best. He turned to face the departing representatives. After all, the greatest victory isn't in proving others wrong. It's in showing them a better way forward. The Thunderchild had done more than save the Confederation. It had opened the door to a new era of cooperation, where technology served wisdom rather than power. And that, perhaps, was its greatest achievement of all.